What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Brandon's Face. It's the podcast about a playlist. I am the monster on the hill. I am Jonathan Beardsley, and as always, I'm joined by the sexy baby, Brandon May. Brandon, how you doing tonight, buddy?
Why did I know that was going to happen? I'm doing well, man. How are you?
You had to have known that was going to happen. I'm good, man. I'm good. I had a great birthday, and I'm excited to dive into all these albums with you. I actually did not get to listen to some of these as much as I wanted to with all of the birthday stuff going on, but I have a lot to say.
Happy birthday, John.
Thank you, man. But as always, I do have a lot to say.
You always have a lot to say, and I always want to hear it.
Yes, man. We should be thankful that a gust of wind did not cancel the podcast tonight. Luckily, we do this inside the comfort of our little homes where that cannot happen.
And also man, not in metropolitan Las Vegas.
No. Boy, what a disappointment, huh?
I feel so bad for the Saturday goers of when we were young. It breaks my heart, man. Their hearts were already broken. They're all emo music fans. And then to have that happen,
Exactly. Yeah. If you guys did not listen last week, Brandon and I did a little fun thing at the beginning of the episode going through how we would navigate our way through when we were young. And lo and behold, half of the people that went did not even get the chance to do that. So kind of a bummer. I heard second day was good, although there was some sound issues. I think that with next year already being confirmed, this was more important for just the spirit of these types of shows to come back more than anything.
Yeah, my wife and I decided to dig up. Well, my wife did all the legwork. She dug up the Taste of Chaos tour that we went to in 2015, 2016. I forget which year, and we paid $25 plus fees to go to see the Used headline with Thrice, Dashboard, Glassjaw, Saves the Day, Story of the Year. It was a great lineup, and I hope that the price of When We Were Young is not indicative of all of these types of shows, but I'm glad that this music is coming more to the forefront of the world again.
Me too, man. And I was glad to see some bands like Mom Jeans get to, share the spotlight with Armor for Sleep for a weekend. That's cool. That's the overlap we needed within this genre.
Definitely. Most definitely. And I will leave this conversation with the wise words of Burt McCracken, who was interviewed at the festival. Quote, "It's like Warped Tour on crack," unquote.
Yes. For people that weren't there when Taste of Chaos started, it was essentially the indoor fall equivalent to Warped Tour. Not quite as many bands because they didn't have the sprawling landscape of outside to work with. And I mean, over time, it kind of whittled away, but I don't feel like Warped Tour is coming back, but I feel like this type of thing can kind of spur that, at least a Taste of Chaos adjacent tour to come back, which I'm hoping for.
When we went to Taste of Chaos had definitely dwindled, and then they came back in 2015 and 2016, and they actually had it at an outdoor venue, and it was honestly, it was spectacular, man. There were some really good bands that we saw, and I think the second year that we went, Dashboard headlined, and I was skeptical at first, but whoa, they really did it. So
they vindicated themselves, huh?
They vindicated themselves.
All right, man. If this is your guys' first time listening to us, if you're watching on YouTube, please be sure to follow the channel, like the video if you have not already. If you're listening on Spotify, make sure you follow along with our page. Give us a rating. We would really appreciate it. 5 stars is the preference around here. You can find us on social media, on Instagram at Brandon's Face Pod, on Reddit, just search Brandon's Face. And most importantly, please follow along with our weekly rotating playlist so you know what we'll be covering every week. We are constantly updating that, trying to organize it to be as cohesive of a listening experience as it can be for a podcast as eclectic as ours. But yeah, I think with all of that out of the way, man, let's talk about some fucking music, right?
Let's do it.
All right. First up, we got a new one from Lastlings called Get What You Want. They came out of nowhere to drop my favorite electronic album of 2020, and I've been patiently waiting for their next move. this feels like more of the same, but that's exactly what I wanted from them. So I'm happy with this. What are your thoughts on this one?
So Lastlings has a vocalist, right? It's the same. It's the same
Yes.
girl. Yeah, her voice is just suited for everything that they do. I think Lastlings featured on a Lane 8 track. It was either this year or on the Brightest Lights album. And
They also featured on an S.G. Lewis song on Times.
that is correct. You are correct, as always. Yeah, this is a great track, man. Really like this.
Yeah. This is clearly the beginning of whatever their next chapter is, although we don't really have much more information beyond this. I will be keeping an eye out, though. Big fan.
Nice.
All right. Next up, we got 2 new tracks from Royksopp. Just Wanted to Know and Feel It. I wasn't going to add these because I'm like, we're 28 singles deep on Royksopp in this year. But boy, when I hit Just Wanted to Know, I was like, this might be like a top 3 Profound Mysteries song of all 3 categories for me. I love that. I think Astrid S and Alison Goldfrapp are maybe like my favorite 2 vocal pairings with them over the course of these so far. On the flip side, Feel It is really good, and I had to add the 8-minute version because that's what you and I do, man.
Correct. We are adults. Yeah, Just Wanted to Know has this kind of like trip hop feel to it, man. It's so good. It's so good. Feel It is more of the Royksopp that we know and love, but I Just Wanted to Know, I'm so glad you added it because I was like, damn, this is a great track.
Yeah, phenomenal. I think that when's part 3 coming out? It's really soon. It is November 18th, so we're just a few weeks away from that. These will probably be the last singles I add. No promises.
I gotta throw some props to Royksopp for all of their album art. If you're listening on YouTube, you can see all of the album art that is displaying on your screen. And yeah, man, they're I don't know if it's AI generated. I don't know if it's actual just digital art, but God, it's so cool.
Yeah, they really locked in on a whole aesthetic for this album, this trilogy of albums, I should say, and I really like it.
I can't even like nail it down. What is it, like cyberpunk insect? Is that the aesthetic they're going for? Because it's
no, I think you're right. It where you're getting the AI generated thing is that it looks like those pictures that are made of things that look almost like things you know, but when you look closely, they're nothing at all.
Right.
I forget what the names of these types of things are, but I think they're just using that art style, to create these kind of images that create shapes from far away, but when you look, they're just made up of chaos.
I really love it. Just had to throw some props to Royksopp for that.
Yeah, good job with that. Next up, we got a new one from Bonobo called Defender. How you feeling about this one?
All right. Bonobo has a way of creating atmospheres that are just layer upon layer upon layer that just, I don't know, man. Basically, all of his music speaks to me. I still listen to his album from this year. What is that called? Fragments.
Yeah.
Such a good record. And I really dug this one. I have a feeling it rubbed you the wrong way.
No, actually,
okay.
this is the same with the Lastlings thing. It's more of the same, but that's what I want when I click play on a Bonobo song.
Boom. Love it.
Yeah, and I've seen on Reddit that Fragments is a lot of people's electronic album of the year, which I find interesting, but I can see where they're coming from. It's not my personal album of the year in that category, but it's a top 10. It's a solid top 10.
Yeah, he just has a way of creating layers, man, and I think he's one of the best in the game right now. I will never forget, I think it was 2015, 2016, he had a surprise Dulab set, and it was him and somebody else at Coachella, and wow, it was probably one of the best house music sets I've ever seen in my life.
He seems like the artist that is like curated for a Dulab set, you know?
It was just, the breeze was happening, man. Everybody was into it. There were no LED screens. It was just right where you needed to be.
Plenty of LSD tabs, though.
No comment.
Next up, we got a new one from Gorgon City and Flirta D called Sidewindah. This one did rub me a little wrong. I think it's a decent beat, but that fucking Scatman style vocal on it just drives me up a wall. How are you feeling about this? Do you like the style?
Honestly, man, I don't like this style, but I love this track.
I mean, that's fair. Complex did like a little feature on this track coming out, which I found interesting.
Complex?
Yeah, Complex.
Like,
Found that one interesting. I was like, huh,
oh,
okay.
that is interesting. Wow.
Good for
Okay.
Gorgon City. Maybe Flirta D has some crossover in the hip hop world. I'm not too sure who that is, honestly. So, but yeah, the whole vocal chop aspect of this one, just by the end of it, I was done with it.
Interesting. All right. Well, I liked it.
Yeah, fair. I enjoyed everything we've reviewed up of theirs up until now. So still not out on Gorgon City, but this one wasn't for me.
Fair.
All right, next up we got a new one from BludeTiger called Elevator. I feel like at this point her vocal melodies are a little bit predictable, but her bass playing is just so great, and all she makes is jams that I don't really care. You know, it is what it is, and I enjoy it for what it is. How are you feeling about this?
You know what's funny, John, is every time you and I agree, we typically agree in like the exact same way. I'm going to read to you word for word what my notes are.
Please.
This is catchy and the song is fine or whatever, but goddamn is her bass talent the star of the show every time she drops a track.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she is.
like it's great and I love it, but I love it because of how much of a jam it is.
Yeah, she has the ability to make average pop songs into jams, and I feel like that's what I really enjoy about her music the most at this point.
Nice. Yeah, I'm a big fan of BludeTiger. I say she does something with. Has she done something with S.G. Lewis yet?
No, I think only Chromeo so far in terms of like, and the Flight Facilities remix of one of her tracks.
She needs to do something with S.G. Lewis because I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, he messes with those types of bass lines really well. Really, like Jungle would probably be a good fit for her as well.
Yeah, Jungle.
Yeah, I'd like to see her branch out a little more within the genre next year. That'd be great.
Yep.
Next up, let's move into the R&B realm of things for a little bit. We got a new one from Kelela called Happy Ending. This is what I was kind of hoping the last song would be that we covered of hers, in that this is an actual song, not an intro. It's just some ethereal thing. So yeah, man, I really liked this. Drum and bass and R&B just go really, really well together. Georgia Smith did a track like this last year that you and I both really enjoyed. And I'm hoping for more of these types of beats on her next album. How did you enjoy like hearing your first actual Kelela song?
This was great, man. This is like dance R&B. Like it was really good. I don't know what you would call this. Is this that dance hall that nobody really likes?
No, this is not dance hall.
Okay. No, I really liked this, man.
Good. I'm glad. Yeah, no, I feel like she's going to be up your alley. She has a lot of the experimental tendencies of an FKA Twigs, but it's much more like grounded in this, rooted in like warehouse and garage R&B, and like, I don't know, you could picture Spore remixing a song of hers, you know?
Yes.
Like that's the type of shit that this is, and I really like that.
Now that would be an interesting collaboration.
That would be. I'm putting that out in the universe. Spore remix a Kelela song, please. Next up, we got a new one from Division called Don't Take Your Love. This one is okay. The beat is good. The vocals are good. The harmonies are great. The lyrics are what they are. It's fine. But more importantly, their new album, Working on My Karma, is dropping this week. So I'll have a more complete opinion when I hear this project in context. This, I'm sure, what will be a very divisive project from Division. No pun intended, actually. There.
Right.
What are your thoughts on this?
All right. So these vocals are great, but man, these lyrics are corny as fuck lately. He says in this song that he's not bringing up other bitches, but he do be bringing up other bitches in basically all of his other songs. So
yeah, it's like the Brent Faiyaz interludes where you're like, yeah, man, if I was your girlfriend and I heard you singing about all these other girls, I'd probably be a little suspicious too. Like, I have a fucking kid with you. Like,
come on, Jesus. Man, get it together.
Instead, you're recording me to put on interludes on your fucking album. Oh man, yeah, I'm kind of. This one is not great to okay. We'll see what the album has in store.
We'll see, man.
Next up, we got a new one from Jeremih. Thank fucking God. Jeremiah is over COVID and back making new music, not just releasing stuff he hadn't put on streaming yet. This is his new single, Changes, I'm sorry. And there's something incredibly dated about Jeremiah's sound, but he still does his style of R&B incredibly well. He hasn't dropped a solo album since his incredibly successful 2015 album Late Nights. And I just really hope that this is the start of a lot more new music we'll be getting from him soon. How did you feel about this and hearing him again?
So again, I'm not a huge R&B fan, so I really only know Jeremiah from that 150
Birthday
Cent,
Sex?
that 150 Cent
Okay,
track
All About
that he
You.
put out. Yeah.
Okay.
It's funny that you say dated though, because I kind of like how old school this sounded. This sounded like early 2000s R&B to me, and he's actually standing in front of an early 2000. No, I'm sorry, an old 1980s
Countach?
Countach. Yeah. So on the album cover, this is very good. This was probably one of my out of the singles. This was my favorite R&B track this week.
For sure, man. I feel like you would know a lot more singles of his if you dive in. His first big single was Birthday Sex, which was very big on the radio.
Oh, that's him?
Yep. And then the
Why
next
did I think
year
that
he
was
put
Jason
out
Derulo?
very similar, close time, just same exact time. Jason Derulo, he had What You Say. That was his single around that time. And then on his second album in 2010, All About You, that was the one with the 50 Cent collaboration. There's a few other great songs on there. And then he waited 5 years to put out his album Late Nights, which is a R&B masterpiece. Has a song Planes with J. Cole, Past That, We, which is one you would probably know, and Don't Tell 'Em featuring YG, which is another one you probably know.
Oh, I know Don't Tell Him.
And yeah, or Don't Tell Him, Don't Tell Him.
So he's prolific. Got it.
He is prolific.
That's why this is so good.
He hasn't necessarily been inactive either. In 2018, he put out a collaboration album with Ty Dolla $ign, which it was okay. Like, it wasn't as good as a solo Jeremiah album, so it didn't really scratch that itch. And then in late 2020, I believe he came down with COVID really bad and was hospitalized for like a month or so. And since then has just kind of released mixtapes and shit on streaming that had never made it. And this is the first new song of his since 2015, I think. So kind of a big deal in the R&B world. I'm very happy he's back.
Nice. Yeah, I really like this, man. Thank you for all the context, as I know you will always provide with R&B for me.
That's what I do, buddy. Next up, we got a new one from Nxworries, aka Anderson .Paak and Knowledge. This one's featuring H.E.R. It's called Where I Go. It's still weird hearing Anderson without Bruno, but I'm liking the new music that he's putting out. This is it's a jam. It's just a jam. I don't know if I love it, but I like it. How are you feeling about it?
This whole track is a vibe, man. I actually agree with you. I like that Paak's been doing some features lately that kind of seem really suited to him. It seems like it almost feels like he's working with the producers to make something that's like for him. And that, Silk Sonic is great, don't get me wrong, but I feel like this is more where he's more comfortable rather than that kind of funky sound that he's going with on Silk Sonic. And I'm sure he's enjoying both personalities of his right now.
Definitely. Have you ever heard the first Nxworries album?
No.
So let me click on this really quick. So Anderson .Paak with the producer Knowledge in 2016 put out an album called Yes Lawd under the name Nxworries. I think the lead single, I can't remember what the lead single on that album was. There was a few. But yeah, they haven't collaborated really since then. And so they're just kind of reigniting. This is an Anderson .Paak project. It's just produced entirely by one person.
Interesting. Okay, so that I think I guess my thoughts are right, nail on the head, right? Because this production clearly is tailored for him.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay, because the song just made a lot of sense for him. Wow, I really like this one, man. This whole track is a vibe.
Yeah, they I don't have the information in front of me, but I believe they're putting a new album out sometime soon or early next year. So we'll keep an eye out for that.
Nice.
Next up, we got a new one from Smino called Matinee. I don't know, man. Every Smino song is only a song that Smino can make. I don't love all of them, but that's an incredibly rare ability. I look forward to breaking down his full album this week. How about you?
Me too, man. Again, here's another moment where you and I are right on the same page. My notes are Smino is weird for me, man. Every time I hear him, it's like I'm hearing him for the first time.
Yeah,
Just
well
very,
put.
very unique artist, and I can't quite place him. So he's kind of like that magic trick where you put something under a cup, and then there's like three cups, and they move them around, and you don't really know where the cotton ball ends up.
Yep.
That's Smino.
Yeah, it's a great analogy, man. Yeah, like it's just hard to quantify what he does, but his album Love for Rent drops this Friday. We'll definitely be throwing that on next week's playlist,
Yes, excited for
which
that.
you can all follow along with in the show notes. Next up, let's move into the rock singles, man. First up, we got a new one from Jimmy Eat World called Place Your Debts. Good song, reminded me a lot of that new Death Cow album a little bit. How did you feel about this one, though?
So when I was listening to this song, I had my headphones on and just kind of diving into the music. And this song
Sure.
gave me like mad chills, man. But it stood out to me as not really the most Jimmy Eat World song I've ever heard. And I actually decided to do a little bit of research. And turns out that this track did not start out as a Jimmy Eat World song. It actually started out as a different band's music, and they sent Jim the music and was like, "Hey, can you help write some lyrics on this?" And he was just like, "No, we're gonna make this into a Jimmy Eat World song." And the story is kind of they write it far more beautiful than what I just said. Go check it out on their website. I think it's jimmyeatworld.com. And yeah, man, the song is beautiful, dude. I really did like that.
Yeah, it's really good. We'll have to keep an eye out for more new music from them. It's always good to see new Jimmy Eat World music.
Always good. And if you have the chance to see them live, do it. They are incredible.
Oh, they're great live. Yeah, I've seen them a handful of times and they never disappoint.
Yep.
Next up, we got a new one from Phoenix called Winter Solstice. Are we going to be reviewing the new Phoenix album when that drops?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm just gonna jump right in here. I don't know how
Go
I
for
feel
it.
about this Phoenix era. There's less guitars, and I feel like it's kind of like an atmospheric decision, or maybe like a mixing mastering decision on the back end of them recording. But it makes the music feel so different than what I'm used to with them with like Listopia. I don't think that I liked this track as much as I wanted to. So
Mhm. Yeah, I felt the same. I didn't really enjoy this one. It's I like when they focus more on the pop rock than the electro pop rock, but I wasn't feeling this one.
yeah, it doesn't feel like them. So
I agree. Next up, we got a new one from Wheel called Synchronize. How are you feeling about this new Wheel track?
So this is a little bit more acoustic than we're used to hearing from Wheel, and I, upon hearing this song, obviously immediately dived into. I think it was my number two rock album of the year, Resident Human, that they put out last year. I liked this one. I'm excited to see how these singles kind of shape up into a full project. They have officially signed with a record label called Inside Out Music, and so I'll be checking that label out and to see what other bands that they've signed to kind of see where their direction is going to go or what the producers that are working with that label are doing. And they actually have a forthcoming EP about to drop called Rumination. So I'm excited for that. I liked the track. It's not my favorite Wheel track. It might be my least favorite Wheel track, but it is still a good song. What did you think about it?
I liked it, man. I like the music. I'm just not a giant fan of the vocals, but it's pretty good Tool adjacent prog rock.
Okay.
I'm always going to make that comparison with bands that remind me of Tool, and it's not always a bad thing. I feel like they're technically a really sound band. I just can't really connect with the vocal style very much.
That's fair, and I think we've talked about it a number of times. And don't get me wrong, Maynard has a beautiful voice, and he makes all sorts of cool music with all of his other bands. But I
Yeah.
need to find bands that are more adjacent to Tool, so I can enjoy this style of music without having to listen to Tool. So
Hey, that's fair, man. And I won't hate on you for that. I feel like this is a pretty good replacement for that.
I think so too. I think they're really good, and they're from Finland, so they add a little bit of Scandinavian spice to.
And who doesn't like that?
Right, exactly.
All right, man. Next up, we got one you threw on here from a band called Def Radio called Arsenal of Hope. Is this the first Def Radio song we've heard?
I think we might have covered one other one. If we didn't, then I think I might have just found this band. I dig it. It's general rock music, man. And I really dig that nowadays because not a lot of people are making it, especially not well. And I think that this band is doing it. Small little band, 30,000 monthly listeners or so on Spotify. So everybody go show them some love.
Yeah, man, I agree. This is a good track. I feel like this is more my like speed of modern alternative rock than like Wheel is.
That's fair.
Okay, let's get a little more punky, shall we? We got a new one from this band called Clearfight called The Hate Parade. There's a ton of really talented bands coming out of nowhere right now. It's a very good time to be a fan of this music. I really enjoyed this track. I think that it's great. How did you feel about it?
You can tell when we're in a wave in a genre. And you can tell that by how quality the releases are of the smaller, tiny little bands. I mean, this band has 4,200 monthly listeners. The production quality is out of control. It's catchy as hell. It's exactly what we look for in the pop punk side of things. And man, we've just gotten so much of this new pop punk this year. We got Anxious, we got Cliff Diver, now we have Clearfight, and I'm sure there's like 1,000 bands that we're missing. But man, it's a good time to be a pop punk fan. We eatin'.
It really is. It really is. Yeah, we're happily fed right now. Good song. Look forward to hearing more from them. Next up, we got a new one from Hawthorne Heights called Dandelions. God bless Hawthorne Heights. They have had the best, worst screen in the scene for 20 years. They not only use it effectively, they've made an entire career off of it. And I got to respect them for
that.
that.
It's so bad, it's good. It's perfect.
It is the movie The Room, dude. It is itself, but I love it. I absolutely love it. I had a very smart time for them to drop this song with the whole When We Were Young Fest last week.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they played it, but this is a very good song, and I loved it.
All bands, if you're playing a small festival set, don't play the new stuff.
Especially when it's called When We Were Young.
Yes, please, God no.
Bring me the horizon.
Brandon, we got a new song from The Used.
Yes, we did.
This song is called Fuck You. They released an album we both really enjoyed in 2020 called Heartwork, right?
Yes, Heartwork.
Yeah, okay. For some reason, I wanted to say Lightwork, and I was like, that's not right.
Well, they put out an album in 2009, 2008 called Artwork.
That's what I'm thinking of. Okay.
And it's just somebody injecting their music into their veins, which I thought was awesome.
I thought Heartwork was a really good album. I really liked Paradise Lost. I thought Blow Me was a good track. I felt like that track with Mark Hoppus on it was good. There was that one with Caleb that was really solid. It was a good album. I felt like they never really lost form, so it wasn't a return to form. It was just kind of a, hey, we're still here type of album. Now that they're back, and now that they're fully leaning into the Hanging Heart aesthetic again and going just full on The Used again on this song, how are you feeling about this era?
Oh man, this is a little bit more poppy than I'm used to, but the song is called Fuck You, and that's what the entire chorus is. So the outro on this one kind of feels like it's supposed to lead into another track. I couldn't find any album or EP announcements, but I gotta say, man, The Used holds an incredibly special place in my heart. I've been to, I think I've calculated. I've been to like over 280 shows in my time going to concerts, and The Used is the best show I've ever been to in my entire life. And if you have the chance to see them specifically in a venue that's like 5,000 people or less, go fucking do it, because they will rock it. Yeah, I like this song, man. I like this era. I loved Heartwork. I loved that record. In fact, that was more of a comeback from the album The Canyon, which I didn't really like as much as their other work, but it was an incredibly personal piece of art from Bert, and it was dedicated to his son that he lost. So yeah, I like this band. I loved this song, and I cannot wait for more. I hope we get more of it.
Yeah, I do too, man. When do you think Bert's voice will finally age? Because it's not happening, man. He still sounds the exact same.
I will tell you that he sounds way worse outside than he does inside.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what that is, but that's a thing with Bert McCracken apparently.
Cigarettes, dust,
yes, something like that. But yeah, I don't know, man. He sounds great on this album or on this song. So
he does. Speaking of sounding great, we got a new one from LS Dunes called Bomb Squads. All 3 songs they've released have been great. This might be my most anticipated album for the rest of the year right now. Just incredible shit. How are you feeling about them in this new track?
Absolute banger. Just another banger. Yeah. I cannot wait for the album. If they do any other singles, let's not add them. I just want to be surprised at this point.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's 2 weeks at this point. We're ready.
Yep.
All right, man.
Inject it into my veins.
Yes, please, God. Did they play? Did they play when we were young?
No, they did not. They definitely did not. But Seosin played, although I don't think it was with Anthony Green.
Oh, no, it was with Anthony.
Oh, it was?
Sure, yeah, it was. I'm pretty sure Cove is the singer of Scary Kids now.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes.
What's funny is all of these bands share members because the guy doing the guitar on this Used song is an ex-Seosin guitarist. So it's all relative, man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The Used now is what, maybe one of the same guys?
I think it's just Bert. Yeah.
No. I think
the bassist might be the same. I know that.
Yeah, I think the bassist is the same, but yeah, the other guy or two are completely different at this point.
Yeah, there was a lot of drama with their drummer or whatever a while back, but. We're over that.
We're over it. All right, let's move on to these couple metal tracks we have before we get into the EPs. The first is by a band called Aborted, and this track is called Infinite Terror. Thought I would hate this based on the name, but they really blend death metal and grindcore well, man. I liked this one. I thought it was good.
Yeah, it's definitely grind adjacent, and I liked it. My notes are yes, grindcore.
All that needs to be said, really.
Right.
Right. Last single for the week. We got a new one from Chelsea Grin and Trevor from Black Dahlia Murder. Rest in peace. This one is called Forever Bloom. We're seeing a lot of Trevor features coming out right now. I feel like we've covered 3 or 4 of them since he's passed away.
Right.
He was a phenomenal talent, and it's really cool to hear some of the last things that he worked on with his friends and peers. Did you want to cover the upcoming Chelsea Grin albums?
Albums? Multiple?
So on November 11th, they are releasing one called Suffer in Hell, and March 17th, they are releasing one called Suffer in Heaven.
Yeah, let's cover both of them. I like that.
All right, I'll throw them on the playlist.
Yeah, it's great to hear Trevor's voice on this track. I love that he did this collab and the collab with Revocation. Rest in peace to a legend, obviously, but this track fucking bangs. This album is shaping up to be pretty good, and I don't think we should cover any more singles. But I couldn't help myself when I saw Trevor's name attached to it. I was like, yep, we're going to cover this single.
Y'all heard it here. We will be covering 2 Chelsea Grin albums in the next 6 months, so be ready for that. All right, man. You ready to move on to the EPs?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, buddy. First up, we got a new one from Bayside. This is the Red EP. Good Advice and Just Like Home are both great songs, but Strangest Faces is very second album matchbook romance in that it's very catchy and full of personality, but a little too overproduced. What are your thoughts on this one?
I'll agree with that. I think all 3 tracks are just refreshingly upbeat, man. Lyrically dense, just a lot of fun. The riffs are kind of heavy. The lyrics can also be at times, and I just really loved this, man. I never got super into Bayside. They've always been that band that I heard someone else playing through the aux cord, and I'm always like, yo, who is this? And it's always Bayside. I'm gonna dive into their other work because. Yeah, man, this is very good. This is very good.
Yeah, they got some great songs, man. Devotion and Desire, Duality. I'm excited to dive in as well. But Good Advice, that's a great song, man. I really liked that one.
Yes, Good Advice is the best out of these 3 for certain.
Let's talk about the H.E.R, my friend.
Let's do it.
Okay, so they released a new EP called Elvis in Wonderland. How much did you listen to the H.E.R?
So I had heard of them, and I listened to, I think it's called Histrionics, a couple of
Yeah.
times.
One Check,
That's
One
all I knew.
Love. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that was their first album. The H.E.R is a band from Vegas. Um, so I remember they have a very special place in my heart, man. I'm really happy to see them back. I remember my friend showing me their album Histrionics one night, and I instantly fell in love with, I don't know, everything was a core back then. This is boy band core. We're gonna go with that. I think only them and the Cab might fit that bill, but we're gonna go with that. I saw them live a few months after that at this venue called the Underground Cafe in Roseville, California, which was also a church. And I didn't really think about their name having anything to do with weed, but it was for sure funny watching them bring in a kick drum covered in pot leaves into a church. I respected it though. And I didn't even smoke back then. They were great and just quickly became one of my favorite bands at the time. They're, God, man, Rock Your Body is a jam, the song Histrionics, and then they released an album called On Fire in 2007, and that quickly became the soundtrack to countless nights that my friends and I took to the casino in NorCal to try and stretch $20 as far as we could go. But win or lose, the first thing we did when we got back into the car was hit play on the H.E.R's On Fire CD, which if you've never listened to it, the first song is called Insurance with a question mark. Few things are better than hearing Insurance when you're walking out of a casino up $60. I will tell you that, man. You will feel on top of the world. I enjoyed their third album, but it came out right as the scene was dying and was kind of slept on. I saw that in 2020, they kind of came back with a cover of Bye Bye Bye, and I was hoping for some new music. So I was stoked to see this drop. The opening title track, Elvis in Wonderland, feels like quintessential the H.E.R, but this whole EP is really good, man. I really enjoyed it. I'm happy they're back. What was your experience listening to this?
Yeah, man, I really like this. Elvis in Wonderland is a great song. It's a little bit more pop than punk, but man, I dig it. I dig it. That's crazy. That's cool that they're from Vegas. And thank you for sharing that amazing story about how the first thing you would do is press Insurance. That's awesome, man. Yeah, I really like this, dude. It was really good. Do you think we're gonna get some more music from them, or do you think that this is
Yes.
it?
Yeah. No, I think we're going to get some more new music. I think it's going to be a while before we get an album, but they sound pretty much in step. I don't know. I don't know where we're going to go from here. I'm thinking a tour will probably come before any new album, but I'm along for the ride. We should definitely dive into their previous albums if you aren't overly familiar with them, because there is some really good shit on there, and I have some funny stories about some of those songs.
I definitely will do that.
All right, man. Let's move on to this Sonder EP called Too Late to Die Young. That is a very Brent Faiyaz thing to name an EP. This whole EP is understated and it's a little underproduced, but the way Brent's voice is able to blend into the instrumentals is great. And if you're a fan of this style of R&B, which I am, you're going to really enjoy this. This whole EP is a lot of the same, but there's a few gems on here. Make Me Stay is great. Break You Off, I really enjoyed. I have a feeling you weren't going to enjoy this one, though. What are your thoughts on this?
It's very Mean Girls of Brent to say, if you ain't 100, you can't sit with us. This project is a little slow for me, man. It wasn't bad by any means, but I like the more upbeat R&B.
Yeah, the Sonder project in general is a little slower. It's something that he does with, I think, 2 or 3 of these other producers that he's kind of friends with, or maybe in like a group with. But they just release a track, sometimes an EP every few years. It seems like we got one this year. I'm happy to get it for what it is. But yeah, definitely not the best work that they've put out.
For sure. Yeah, it wasn't really up to speed for me.
Hey man, at least you have a taste in R&B now that I can kind of anchor and guess around. I've figured it out a little bit.
I think so. Sometimes I surprise you still.
Sometimes you do. You do. All right, man. Last EP, I don't know. This one was bordering on an album. This is Duckwrth's Chrome Bull. It's both what I expected and worth the wait, man. It's a fun listening experience in the same way all of his other albums have been. There was some really good songs on here like 11:30 and Ce Soir, but I think the standout for everyone is Super Saiyan. That track is fucking beautiful. I feel like he really tapped into something special on this. It's a good entry in his discography, man. How are you feeling about this project?
This is just entirely fun to listen to.
Yeah,
I actually think of him in much the same way as I do Channel Trace. Obviously, Duckwrth has a completely different vibe, but I have the same amount of fun listening to Duckwrth's music, if that makes any sense. The whole EP album, whatever the fuck you want to call it, is just catchy. It's fun. It's well done. It was Duckwrth, man. It's well worth the wait for this one. Maybe it was
I agree.
Duckwrth the wait for this one. Did we ever figure out what happened to the initial drop date?
Yeah, he posted that there was a song on here. My guess is Super Saiyan that I don't think had been approved when he originally submitted. And I think he finished the song before the album was released, but after submission. So I think he asked his label to delay it to try and get one more song on it. I don't know which song it is, but Super Saiyan feels like, doesn't sound like the rest to me. It feels like a song that was maybe written after this project and added in. But I don't know, because we heard Ce Soir as a single, Power Power came out as a single. I think Beg came out as a single. So I'm not really sure. It could have been 11:30, but that feels like it flows out of the intro into that song. So that feels like it was always a part of it.
I also think that it was Super Saiyan.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that. Good project, though, man. I really like this. I'll be listening to it quite often.
This was a lot of fun.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to do the albums.
Sounds good.
And we're back. Okay, man. This has got to be one of the biggest albums of the year. It is trending on 1.2 million units moved or equivalent units first week. This is Taylor Swift's new album, Midnights. This album is a fucking monster commercially so far. But how do you feel about it personally, Brandon? This is the first new Taylor Swift album that we have reviewed together.
It sure is. I'm actually excited for this. I'm glad that you are getting the full Swiftie experience here.
Is this Taylor's version?
Actually, it wasn't self-released. It was released by a record label. I forget the record label at the moment. But all right. So I'm a Swiftie, just right off the bat here. I'm just gonna. A lot of people say that her songwriting is corny, and while I agree, I kind of also disagree. I kind of like the kind of on the nose lyricism we get from Taylor. There's not much mystery to what she's saying, and I think that gives her power. She could probably write metaphors, but why should she? I don't know. I like specifically the line, like snow on the beach, weird but fucking beautiful, is great, man. There's no mystery in that. You don't need to shroud it in layers of irony in order to understand what these indie artists are saying here. So, right. I do like this record, man. It has decent production, courtesy of Jack Antonoff, and I know you're going to have words to say about Jack and his production here. But I actually think he showed off his reins a little bit here because it's pretty unique to his catalog, in my opinion. There's a couple of tracks that are really cool. But that probably goes to Taylor, as I know that they work together on a lot of this. As a non-Swiftie, I'm very interested to hear what you have to say about this, since you just recently heard Red in all of its glory for the first time when she re-recorded it. Mm-hmm. I think this is a good addition to her discography. While not my favorite album of hers, I do love the concept of lyrics written at midnight during a sleepless night. Quite obviously, if she did write these at midnight during a sleepless night, she edited them and enhanced them to include, choruses and bridges and verses and some structure because they're all full-on songs. I was kind of hoping that we were going to get kind of like raw ideas produced as an album, kind of like Code of the Friends Lyrics to Go series that he does. But alas, that is not what we got. And I'm not really complaining. I just kind of like talking, I guess. All right. So this is a Taylor Swift record. It's good music. It's well done. It's written well. I genuinely love the whole thing. It's hard because that I kind of like to hate on the popular stuff, and this is objectively the most popular in the most popular album in the world right now. But I can't really bring myself to find much that I dislike about this album besides a couple of the weird lines like "sexy baby," which you mentioned earlier. I particularly like the line he was doing lines as he was crossing mine and someone told his white collar crimes to the FBI. Let me tell you something. If Lil Wayne said this verse, everybody would be tripping right now, regardless of album or mixtape. I'm saying that these rhymes are good, man. Do you know who this is about, by the way? I don't know who that line is about.
No, I have no idea.
I actually disagree with No, I didn't look at or read any reviews prior to writing this album, but I really liked Vigilante Shit. That was a really good song, man.
No,
I really like it, man.
God
it's a great track, dude. Production, the lyrics.
No, you don't have to defend the song. We'll talk about it in a second.
Overall, I liked this project. I'm glad that we didn't get any singles for it because I think it works better as an entire project. I gave it a 6/7 out of 10. My standout is Anti-Hero. Tell me your thoughts on this album, Non-Swifty.
All right, man. Simply put, didn't hate it, didn't love it. I thought the production was good, which is very surprising considering it was produced by Jank Antonoff. I thought that the first 3 tracks were good, with the opening track being the best of the bunch, before I thought the album loses its way a little bit with Snow on the Beach and You're on Your Own, Kid. Midnight Rain pulls me back in a little bit with the impressive instrumental, but I'm pretty much right back out after that. Because I just can't get into that stretch of songs from Question through Labyrinth. But I thought Karma was a really solid album cut to keep the back half interesting. And Mastermind is a good closer. But the moments I enjoyed, I didn't really connect with beyond thinking they were just objectively good, I guess, which I think is kind of the point of her music and the broad appeal of it.
You are not her target audience, John.
Very true. We were looking at our target or our demographic numbers, and I think we have 100% male listener base at this point. So I don't know if we're the target audience for this, but the only song that I have an issue with on this album is Vigilante Shit, Brandon. And dear God, man, it's not that it's a bad song. It's a fucking Billie Eilish song from 2019. This is just her being like, oh yeah, that Bad Guy song was really good. I bet I can make that. Look, man, I'm going to give the album a 7. Lavender Haze is my standout. It wasn't bad. It's not a bad album. I thought that there was some good moments on it, but I probably won't return to it. And it's not in my top 5 pop albums of the year.
Yeah. I agree. There's some really good pop that was released this year. And I don't know, man, I think I didn't make that connection with Vigilante Shit, but I did like the album. So, I also did like that song. So I'm glad we're kind of on the same page, although my words are a little bit more positive than yours.
Yeah, I actually gave it a higher score than you, I think.
I said 6 or 7. It's one of those.
No, man, you can't take it back. We know you meant 6.
I did. I maybe. I will say that I do implore you to go listen to Folklore and Evermore. They're lyrically dense, beautiful.
Listen to the more
albums.
Jack Antonoff albums.
Dude, I'm telling you, man.
I'm gonna just dive right into that.
You should fucking do that. Because
go back to Arcspire before I do. I'm kidding.
Okay, we'll do that too.
You know that I'll do anything if it's in the spirit of trying to better my knowledge for this podcast. So maybe one day something will present it. Yeah, maybe I will.
Right.
I didn't have to on this because it feels like we feel pretty much the same way about this album, even though we have different moments that we like about it.
Yes, sir.
All right, man. Let's talk about this new Arctic Monkeys album, The Car. I have a lot of notes written down here, and I don't want to read any of them because I don't really feel this way anymore, man. When I initially listened to this album, I was a couple beers deep. I think I had a joint or something, and I was like, yeah, this is a good album. And it is just boring, man. The more I go back to it, the more boring it gets. And I feel like there's moments on songs like Big Ideas where the strings and the guitars and the vocals and all of it come together in this really beautiful way. But for the most part, man, it's not one I'm excited to restart whenever I do, even though there's moments of it that I really like. I like the singles that we covered. Sculptures of Anything Goes is a good track. And like I said, I thought Big Ideas was a good one. But I don't know, man. I'm gonna need more time to figure out how I feel with this one. I had it at an 8, but it's probably at like a 6 or 7 for me now. How are you feeling about this one?
All right. Well, I listened to this album all week. Um,
I'm very
I
interested in your thoughts on it.
All right, let's go. Do you know that feeling when, like, you think you need to be alone, but as time passes, you realize that you made this choice, but the choice to be alone was the wrong one, only to, like, leave the room or the structure you're in and realize that it's no longer an option to be alone?
Sure.
That's what this album is. That's what the imagery of the album cover is. That's what the imagery of the lyrics are. That's what the sound feels like to me. I know that this isn't what we wanted, which is big riffs, faster drum beats, less casino lounge feel, but I think this is a solid addition to their discography. And I think we just need to come to terms with the fact that they've changed their sound and they've retained their songwriting skills. And I actually think that these tracks, when played live, will be a little bit like every time I've seen the All American Rejects, heavier than they sound in the studio. Yes, there's a lot of softness in this, and as there was on their last one, but I think this album had to be like that due to the subject matter that they wanted to write about. Keep in mind, I think that the subject matter they wanted to write about was isolation. You have to keep into account that they didn't really release a real album since 2018, which was, Tranquility Base.
Mm-hmm.
Isolation is kind of this like soft pain, and for such an art rock band, they really do tailor the music to the art that they create. And again, this is the first studio album since 2018, which was pre-pandemic, and you know that this artsy as fuck band had a lot to say about the feelings that this global event kind of caused them. I planned on kind of doing a track by track for this, but I didn't because the whole thing is its own thing, and I think that it's a beautiful record. It was filled with heightened musicality and instrumentation, and they absolutely fucking knew that isn't what people wanted. And I think that at this point in their career, they can kind of do whatever they want. I'm very curious as to how these sound live. I've never seen them, but they're arguably one of the biggest rock bands in the world. So I'm assuming that they have some interesting shows lined up to show off all of this music and all of their old music. I wrote this review, and then I saw that they did a live performance that they posted to YouTube. So I watched that and I stumbled upon it, and I'll throw it in the show notes of them playing. I think it was probably an album release show at at a venue called King's Theater. And the new songs do sound great, if not a little weird, kind of peppered into their older riffy stuff. But I think that they pulled it off really great. The crowd was loving it, and I'm sure the energy in the room and the vibe in the room was great. I gave it an 8. My standout is Mr. Schwartz, honestly, I liked a lot of them, man. Body Paint, Jet Skis on the Moat is good. Big Ideas is good. I liked a lot of them, man. And I think it's easy to become bored with it, but I put the lyrics on in front of me and I like fully enveloped myself in this album, and I'm hoping you did the same. I'm sure.
Of course I did.
It's your favorite band, right? So
yes.
It's that's kind of how I'm feeling about it, and I didn't mind the art rockiness of it.
It's not necessarily the art rockiness of it, and I may be a little too close to the situation right now to have an unbiased feeling. That's why I said I just need some more time with this one.
That's fair, man.
Getting to the lyrical content itself, which yes, I did go through, they're getting very unabridged Stephen King with how descriptive they're getting with certain things, 3 pages on just the way this room feels. And I appreciate that when I'm in the right state of mind for it, given the initial high score. But yeah, I feel like this is going to be an album that is going to be entirely dependent on the mood, which is fine. But a lot of their past albums are not. They're just albums you could throw on whenever and be like, yeah, this kicks ass. Right. This is not that album. This is much more artsy. And yeah, it's not a surprise. This is very much the next logical step after Tranquility Base if they were to keep going down that path. It's just everyone imagined that their metaphorical car in this situation was going to back onto that main Arctic Monkeys highway and get back on it. But instead, they're just venturing into this space. And hey, if they feel like that there's more creativity that they can mine collectively from this theme, this feel, then fucking go for it, man. It might not be my favorite Arctic Monkeys album. It might be my least favorite Arctic Monkeys album. But it's crazy that they're so good that it can be my least favorite of theirs and still be a really good album.
That is super fair, man. Yeah, I kind of just let myself feel it. So that's just kind of where, and that's kind of where I came up with that kind of analogy, which is, you know, wanting to be alone and then not being able to be alone, even though you don't want to anymore. And that kind of just, as soon as I kind of felt that, I was like, that's exactly what they were going for on this. And then I looked at the album cover and I was like, oh man, that's like, it's like real isolation. I don't know. It just kind of spoke to me a little bit and made me kind of re-listen to the album with that in mind. And I think that it's more loungy, you know, it's more lounge art rock like Tranquility Base was. And
It
I
feels
think
like
that's okay.
it feels like they're all written starting with the piano now versus the guitar.
And
That's it just feels like that's the genesis of all these songs.
yeah, I think so too, and we'll see what happens, man. I do recommend you watch the King's Theater
Oh, I checked
performance.
it out.
Oh, you
I
watched
checked
it
it out.
already?
Yeah,
I
of course.
kind of figured you did. You are the Arctic
Of course.
Monkeys fan, so yeah, man.
All their live
that's how we
shit for
feel.
these songs has been great, man. I enjoyed the live stuff. I'll enjoy these songs more, like as you said, as I hear the live renditions and as I listen to the album in different headspaces. But it's definitely a more challenging listening experience than their previous few.
And it could also be like a mixing or maybe even like a pedal effect that we're missing. Because, like on Sculptures, if anything goes, there are some sick riffs on that.
Oh, yeah, there are.
But it doesn't give you the same feels as their AM album or the I Am What You Don't Say I Am. I forget the
Yeah,
name.
nothing
But
will give me the same feels as the AM album,
no,
man.
nothing. I
That's
don't
a
think
10
ever
if
will.
there ever was one.
Yeah, and I don't think anything ever will, and I think that's kind of what they're batting at here, right? They're kind of poking the fact that we made a 10. We're not gonna ever try to beat that.
Yeah,
Why would
never
they
did.
ever try to beat that? You know, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It took them a few albums to get to that final form to make that album. Let's see where this goes. Maybe a few more albums down this path and they'll make like their next masterpiece within this realm of rock art. So we'll see.
We'll see, man. We'll see.
All right. Next up, we got this new one from Rae Jepson called The Loneliest Time. I listened to this one a few times and I feel like this album is fine for what it is, man. She's gotten a lot better since the Call Me Maybe days. We hear that growth throughout this album, but incremental growth isn't necessarily enough to keep me fully engaged all the time. And we already reviewed the best song on here last week, but there's a few others that stood out to me. Surrender My Heart was good, Talking to Myself, Sideways, Bends. Outside of those, I didn't really return to this. I actually thought that some of the bonus tracks were better than a lot of the album cuts, which was kind of weird. This album's a solid 6 for me, man. The title track is my easy standout. It's a good pop album that shows the potential for future greatness, but for as good as it is, it's not one of the best pop albums to come out this year, or one I'll probably be returning to in its entirety very often. But I enjoyed it, and I never thought I would say that about a Rae Jepson album. How did you feel about this one, man?
I'm going to disagree with you wholeheartedly
Please.
here.
Please.
I want to say that I am surprised by how good this is, but I'm kind of also not. Everyone kind of hyped her up on the internet. I actually first saw the hype when she was playing Coachella, and everybody, when the lineup was released last year in January, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, Rae Jepson, this and that," and I was like, "Really? People are like excited about her?" But holy shit, man, this is top tier pop music to me. It's kind of fucked up for Taylor Swift to release on the same day, since I think that Carly probably had this album planned way longer than Taylor had Midnight's planned. But it doesn't really matter, though, because this week pop heads are indeed eating. The arrangements on this one are great, man. There's a ton of great production and instrumentation throughout. The lyrics are bright, they're poppy, they're real, and it sounds like she really went out of her way to make this record sound like her. I don't know if that makes sense. I actually went back and listened to her last album, Dedicated, and I really like that one too. I've been skipping out on Rae Jepson, and I will not be anymore. This record was a lot of fun, and it's danceable. It's just a good time to listen to, man. I'll be coming back to this one by the end of the year for sure. I actually gave this a higher score than I gave my Taylor album, and it is an 8 for me. My standout was Ben's.
Wow. Wow. I was expecting you to like it. Benza's a great song, by the way.
It is.
But yeah, I was not expecting you to give this one a higher score than the Taylor album. That's surprising.
I really, really liked it, man.
I feel like pop is the most subjective of all the genres. So when you fully disagree with me on a pop album, it's not surprising to me at all. That's what pop music is, man. It's all like guilty pleasure turned genuine love type of stuff. And
Yeah.
I feel like, yeah, it's a good album. Like it's a very, very packed year in pop, in my opinion, though.
Yeah, it's a packed year in pop and a packed week in pop.
Yes. You ready to move on, or you got anything else to say about
I
this
have
one?
nothing else to say besides the fact that I did indeed dig it.
Good, man. All right, let's talk about this Babyface album really quick. This one is called Girls Night Out. This project is much better than I thought it would be when it was announced, but the problem with albums like this is that each song is only as good as the featured artist on it. And while he did a pretty great job curating some of the best female artists in R&B today, there's a few duds on here as well. We already covered the collabs with Kalani, LMA, and Queen Naija, which were all really good and excellent choices for the singles. But of the non-singles, the collaboration with Ari Lennox stands out.
Yes.
The recipe with Mooney Long stands out. Fresh off her appearance on the latest Craig David album, I'm happy to see her again. But my standout, not just of the non-singles, but of the whole fucking album, is Don't Even Think About It. That shit is a bop and a half, man. I love the beat, love the vocals, love everything about that track. I wish the whole album was as good as the singles in that track, but it's not a disappointment either. This is a solid 7 down the middle. I liked it a lot more than I didn't. It's in the upper middle echelon of R&B albums we've reviewed this year, but the high points of it are very, very high. How did you feel about this one, buddy?
I actually will agree with you on that. That the high points are super high, but as a project, it may fall short in a couple areas.
Yeah.
I actually do think a little differently than you about this, since I'm kind of outside the R&B world, even though I've experienced enough of it to kind of have an opinion now. When we first started reviewing R&B, I was kind of like, how can I have an opinion about something that I don't fucking know about? But now I think that I actually do have the ability to have an opinion on it. So I actually thought that this was pretty refreshing. This is a solid record, and I kind of love how he's using his giant platform to have to kind of have this who's who of female R&B come onto some really great production, courtesy of Babyface. And it's such a really cool concept. And honestly, if you hadn't shown me a ton of these artists before, I don't think I would be able to appreciate it as much. So thank you for that, John.
You're welcome.
Ari Lennox just fucking shines on Liquor, man. You hear Babyface just come in for a quick little verse. The Kalani feature on Seamless obviously is great, and she obviously kills it, like we've talked about when the single dropped. LMA single or feature is great. I love the Tink feature. I'm not a big fan of Baby Tate, so I did like that song, but I'm not a huge fan of Baby Tate.
That song is great.
Overall, man, there are a lot of incredible vocal performances here, and you can tell that Babyface kind of tailored the production for each vocalist on each track, because this is not, as a project, cohesive in the least bit, because each track is different, because each vocalist demands different production. And I think that's kind of why it feels kind of compartmentalized song by song, because it is. You know what I'm saying? I was actually a pretty big fan of this. I gave it a 7. My standout is Keeps On Falling with LMA. I really liked that song. And yeah, man, this was a really cool concept. I commend Babyface for doing this.
How do you feel about the artwork on this one? You like it?
Definitely do not.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. What is like GTA Vice City type of artwork? It doesn't really fit to me. I think it detracts from it a little bit.
Whoever chose this font needs to be fired immediately.
Good album otherwise.
Yes.
All right, man. Let's move on to this new Tegan and Sara album called Crybaby. Did you get the haircut in honor of the album, like we said we were going to? Or am I just sitting here alone with this Tegan and Sara?
Oh man, I always
How
have
you
that
feeling
haircut.
about this one? The razor blade ice cream cover. I like the cover on this one.
Yeah, I love the album art on this one. Where do you put Tegan and Sarah? You put them in pop, you put them in indie, you put them in rock. Where do you put them?
Ooh, that's a great question. Indie pop.
I'm a fan of putting them more in pop than indie, but I think that you are correct that they're indie pop. But maybe it's because we got so much good pop music this week, but this one feels like it's missing something. And I think that something that it's missing is passion. I love Tegan and Sarah's music, and I have for quite a long time. My wife introduced me to them back in like '09 or 2010, and
Mhm.
we've seen them twice, and we've had a lot of fun at both shows. But the last time we saw them, I think it was 2015, 2014, one of those, maybe even 2016, I don't know. We noticed that they were lacking a little bit of passion. That happens to bands that have been around the block since the 1990s. They released their first album in '99. And I think it's a good record. It's just not anywhere near their best. The vocal performances are subpar at best here, and they've really impressed me in the past, but you can tell when they're holding notes that their heart just isn't in it, man. It's kind of a bummer, but it just kind of is what it is for me, I guess. As much as I enjoyed hearing it, I won't be coming back to it. I did like it as a whole, as a project, but I don't think that it hit everything that I wanted it to. Maybe again, it's because we had so much good pop music this week or whatever, but I wrote down 4 out of 10. So that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying on the air. My standout is Fucking Up What Matters. I really liked that song.
Interesting. And we covered that one as a single.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, I don't have a ton of thoughts on this one. Much like you, man. I haven't listened to them much since the con, and I wasn't a huge fan of the singles from what I remember. This album is fine for what it is. I thought that the first half was a lot better than the second half, but I get bored by this style of indie pop pretty fast. I thought Smoking Weed Alone was a good track, but this isn't an album that really left me thinking about it good or bad in any significant way, which I think that stems from the lack of passion behind it that you were talking about. Maybe it's all the smoking weed alone that's taken their passion. I don't know. But yeah, man, I gave this one a 5 or 6. It's somewhere in that range to me. There's a few good songs on it. I might check it out again down the road, but far from their best work.
Agreed.
All right, man. You ready to cap off this week with this new Exhumed album?
You know that I am.
All right. They released their new album, To the Dead, and I am sure you have some thoughts on it. So please dive in.
I honestly don't have many, but I will say this is classic gory death metal, man.
Mm-hmm.
I love that the production on this just feels old school and young, yet this band has been going since like the mid 90s. There's no
Yep.
frills here, just a great death metal record. I actually read an interview with one of the band members this week. I'll try to find it to throw it in the show notes, but he had a great talk about how there needs to be more than like 10 legacy death metal bands, and that the bigger bands, when they go on tour, should show the super small bands some love, since they're the future of the genre. And I really liked that. It's funny to me that this stuff never gets old to me, man. There's some great blast beats, there's some great solos, great disgusting and gory, weird vocals, and I just really enjoyed my time with it, man. There's nothing out of the box, but we don't really expect that from Exhumed. I gave it a 7. My standout was Drained of Color. That solo is insane.
I will agree that that solo is insane. Yeah, man, you threw a song of theirs on last week that I was not really a fan of. I think I described it as a little too sludgy for my taste. That's pretty much how I feel about this album. I'm just not a big fan of gore metal like this. I didn't give this album a score because I didn't like or dislike it. It just wasn't for me. But
That's
there were
fair.
some good moments on it, like the solos and shit that you were talking about, some great blast beats, just the gore metal vocals and that whole style of just, I don't know, man. It wears on me. Maybe it's me getting old, though.
Yeah, I don't know, man. One of my favorite album covers of all time is Cannibal Corpse's Gore Obsessed.
Oh
And
yeah, Cannibal Corpse
there's
album covers. Gore artwork does not bug me at all. I just can't I look at a piece of gore artwork and I'm like, yeah, that's cool. I don't have to look at it for an hour straight.
That's true. Is this album an entire hour? I don't
No,
think
I
that it
just,
is.
you know what I mean. This
It's
is a
39
40-minute
minutes.
album.
No,
Yeah.
but my favorite gore album is the Cannibal Corpse Gore Obsessed, and it's a painting or a picture drawn of a zombie wearing a cape of human faces, and it's just amazing, man.
That's just awesome.
And I like it, dude. It's so silly. You can't take any of it seriously, you know. Like it's one of those things that is just so outlandish that I don't know. It's just kind of it makes you escape any reality that you could dream of for like a moment, you know?
Yeah, of course, man. It's so different. It's so out there. God damn it. It just makes me think of all those memes, the Cannibal Corpse ones that came out last year when that guy got arrested and they like photoshopped all the different song titles on there. I have a bunch of bodies in my garage. The skulls in my house. Oh man, good shit.
Shredded humans.
Yeah. Yes. This was a fun week, man. You want to know what we're going to be breaking down next week?
Yes, I do.
We got a lot, man. We got new albums from Devin Townsend, Division, Fred Again, King Gizzard, Noja Thing, Rez, Smino, and a bunch of new singles from a bunch of our favorite artists. It's going to be fucking stacked. I can't wait for it. Can't wait to talk to you all then. We'll see you then. Peace.
See you then. Peace.